Good evening and welcome to the Maple Plains City Council meeting. It is Monday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. and I'm calling the meeting to order. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking for a motion to adopt this evening's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Francis,
Second.
second by DeLuca. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Our first item of business this evening is visitors to be heard. Administrator Schillender, do we have any visitors to be heard?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Any visitors to be heard? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our next item this evening, and this is our guest speaker. I'd like to welcome to the podium Representative Kristen Robbins, who is here tonight to give us a legislative update. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So nice to see you all. I am here to give my last legislative update. So it's bittersweet for me, but it has been an absolute joy to serve our community in the legislature. I have just loved every minute of getting to know the wonderful people here in Maple Plain and serving with all of you. So a quick recap of the session. As you know, the House was tied, so everything failed on a tie. So we didn't get a lot of things over the finish line, but we did get some really good work done for the state of Minnesota and for the city of Maple Plain. The most important thing for our community is that we were able to get the pension fix done for the Maple Plain Fire Relief Association, and I'm grateful to Mayor Julie and to Jacob and for Justin, who was with the Fire Association, Justin McCoy, and the whole community. Like, it was a privilege to work together to find a solution that made a difference for all of our firefighters. And I'm so grateful for their continued service in the new West Suburban Fire District. So very grateful to get that across the line. And of course, the opening of Quick Trip wasn't really a legislative thing, but I was involved. You guys carried the laboring oar, and Mayor Julie, I mean, you've been talking about that since our very first meeting, and I love coming through town and seeing how busy it is, so that's fantastic. On taxes, so people wonder what on earth happened with the taxes. So there was a small property tax cut that will show up in the property tax refund, and basically, rather than it's based on income. So anyone whose annual income adjusted gross is $143,000 or less should see an increase in their property tax refund this year. We also got a reduction for one time in the tap fees, and that will be for calendar year 2027. So anyone renewing their fees or buying a new car next year will see that reduction in that calendar year. We also did end the ballpark tax, which was a 0.15% sales tax in Hennepin County that had gone to pay off the ballpark bonds. There had been talk about actually extending that and increasing it to 1% to pay for HCMC's stabilization. But rather than our taxpayers getting 1% increase, we forestalled that, and we stabilized HCMC with $200 million in cash out of the state budget. So that's a $200 million stabilization fund immediately available, and then starting in 2028, if necessary, there's another $500 million stabilization fund that will be available to HCMC and to other hospitals that may be in trouble. So that was really important, because if we cannot figure that out, it falls on Hennepin County property taxpayers, and we obviously need our safety net hospital to survive. We also did some good work to help the counties. As chair of the fraud committee, I see the fraud problems writ large in all these different programs, and one of the issues has been that the county technology that they use to sort of manage these programs is completely outdated, probably 40 years old. And so we did put $90 million towards upgrading that technology. That request for proposal process is going on right now, so I don't know when the counties will actually see a change in their actual technology, but we tried. For law enforcement, there was some training dollars that were brought forward. We tried really hard to get the Brady Giglio changes through the finish line, and it didn't make it. And I know you and other chiefs that were in our district were working hard on that, but I do think that will be a top priority next year. And obviously, as chair of the fraud committee, I continue to this day. Today, I had another whistleblower call. We continue to fight fraud. I'm still your legislator until December. And so my office is open. I continue to meet with constituents, continue to help communities with things. So if there's anything you or people in Maple Plain need, please reach out. I'm still working every day. Any questions?
I would just like to also thank you for the work that you and Senator Limmer did with the Highway 12 Safety Coalition.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
and
that.
Secured. Go ahead, you share it. You did all the work.
Oh, no, on the bonding bill, we had a lot of bonding projects for our district. One of the big ones that made it over the finish line was $4 million for Highway 12. This team, this coalition has been working long before I started serving to make sure that Highway 12 is safe. And thanks to the continued work of the Highway 12 Safety Coalition, they got the money. It's going to start work, I think, next summer. Well, we'll see. No promises. But the money's in place, and we're super excited about it because, as we know, all of us in this community, that continues to be a huge hazard, and a lot of families have suffered terribly. And so we are grateful to see that finally come across the finish line. So thank you to Mayor Julie and the Highway 12 Coalition. They did a great job.
And just thank you for your continued advocacy and partnership about the fire pension, Highway 12, and so many things would not have gotten done without the collaboration of everyone. And you are key in that, and we really appreciate you and the relationship.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions, feedback for Representative Robbins? Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
the legislative update and for coming out to our great city.
Oh, I love it every time I'm out here. Thank you. Have a
All
great
right,
evening.
Take care. Thank you. Next item of business this evening is our consent agenda. Our consent agenda includes City Council workshop meeting minutes from May 26th, City Council business meeting minutes from May 26th, City Council workshop minutes from June 8th, and special meeting minutes from June 15th. Looking for a motion to approve the, Assistant Administrator Larson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Honorable Council. On the May 26th business meeting, meeting minutes, I would like to make one correction. With this, I'd like to correct the minutes on the resolution, or item E, resolution 2026-052606. In the first paragraph, line 8, the Oak Street tot lot should actually read just plain tot lot. So the removal of Oak Street.
Thank you for that correction. Administrator Schillender.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One other that I see, Kevin, is the next line down, approval of resolution.
Thank you for that. All right, so with those corrections, looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Burek,
Second.
second by Francis. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item of business this evening is accounts payable, and I'm going to turn that over to our administrator.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Our city bills for this last month totaled $343,574.53. Our ACH bills came in at $13,850.87. Item C, just to clarify, their bond interest payments that we made in the year 2026 for our bonds. It is not for our 2026 bond that we'll be discussing later. That was $200,130.03 in our 2024 street reconstruction project costs of $4,555.15. With that, looking for a motion to approve those. Sorry, that's yours, not mine.
Any questions for Administrator Schillender regarding accounts payable this evening? Right, hearing none, then I'm looking for a motion to approve accounts payable, city bills, city ACHs, bond interest payments, and 2024 street reconstruction project.
So moved.
Moved by DeLuca,
Second.
second by Burek. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Madam Mayor. In my defense, I just chaired a HOA meeting, so.
It's okay. All right, next item of business this evening is our staff reports. Those have been submitted before us in writing from the fire department, from West Hennepin Public Safety, city engineer, public works, city planner, administration, finance. We do have many of our staff here this evening. Did anyone want to comment on anything in their reports? Chief DeRose.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. If you have any questions about anything in the report, I'm happy to answer them. Just two things that aren't in the report that I'd like to draw your attention to. Our registration for COPS, our first annual COPS and Bobbers, is closed because we received overwhelming interest in the event on July 8th. So we're really excited about that. We'll have, I think we're going to be up to 16 kids signed up for that. So we're looking really forward to that. But just also to note that we are open for registrations for Night to Unite. For that first Tuesday in August. So we've already taken in 3 registrations for that, but we look forward to many more and opportunity for some good engagement in the community. So just wanted to bring those to your attention as well.
Thank you very much. Those are 2 exciting events, so looking forward to those in July and August. Any other staff want to comment? All right, hearing none, looking for a motion to receive staff reports as submitted.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Francis,
Second.
second by DeLuca. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item for us this evening is old business, and this is Resolution 2026-0622-01, revoking the interim use permit for 5060 US Highway 12, and I will turn that over to staff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. 5060 Highway 12 is the collision corner business. On June 24th, the city council approved an interim use permit. And this was after agreeing with Collision Corner on a settlement agreement. The interim use permit established clear operational limits, compliance deadlines, enforcement mechanisms, and escalating penalties for non-compliance, including revocation upon a 3rd violation. They were issued a violation in July 12th of 2024 was their first. July 24th, 2024 was their second. Since that time, part of that agreement also required keeping an escrow of $3,000 to reimburse the city for IUP enforcement action. They have been sent monthly statements showing that they owe a balance. A final demand was sent on December 22nd, 2025. I did have email communication with them regarding the cars that are parked for sale. They're allowed to have 10 there, and they have to be clearly marked as for sale, in which they had asked whether or not they could just put a sign on the fence that said these cars are for sale, in which I had replied to them letting them know that the agreement specifically stated they had to be listed, each vehicle for sale. There was no mention of replenishing the escrow, so therefore this is a 3rd violation. And so city staff is recommending that the council approve this resolution revoking the interim use permit as agreed upon in the settlement agreement.
Administrator Schillender, before we discuss this resolution and further, could you explain what that actually means just for the general public? Is it shutting down the business? Because it's not, but what does that look like?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council and public. So Collision Corner will be able to remain in business. They would not be able to do auto body work, just mechanical work, such as oil changes, things like that, but nothing auto body related.
Thank you for that clarification. I know I've been asked that by a couple members from the public, so I thought it was important to get that on record as well. Other questions for staff for discussion? Councilmember Avizo.
Yes, I have a few, if that's okay. Have any violations ever been corrected and sustained?
Yes, the landscaping was completed as well as the ADA parking. The ones that still remain in violation are the diagonal parking and the for sale parking.
Okay, thank you. And for the public's understanding, can you explain why maintaining the escrow is required condition of the permit and part of the settlement agreement?
Yes. That was made part of the settlement agreement to cover the costs of Collision Corner not following the settlement agreement.
Okay, so is the city obligated to apply the same enforcement standards to all permit holders to ensure fairness and consistency? So like other businesses, like are we gonna, is this a, are we gonna, I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Yep, I understand where you're coming from. At this point, we're not talking about other businesses, we're talking about a settlement agreement and an interim use permit for this business. So I can't comment on other businesses and enforcement.
Okay. And if we were to decline this revocation, despite these violations, what legal or procedural issues would that create for our city?
Other than maintaining the agreement and the initial resolution, it gives us the look that we're not going to enforce our agreements and resolutions.
In other words, it would make it difficult for you to apply the ordinances to other businesses. Is that what you're saying?
That I cannot comment on. I'm not an attorney.
Fair enough. Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Councilmember Burek?
When I got on council, the settlement agreement was going through the process. Since I got on the settlement agreements there, I understand these violations. I have one question on the ADA compliant. Was it because it wasn't painted? Is that why it was out of compliant? Or is there another reason?
Administrator Schillinger?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Burek. It was not marked properly or signed properly. And it did not have the proper width as an ADA accessible parking space. That is in compliance now,
Okay.
but it was not then, which is why the violation was issued.
So it was also on the width of the space and the signage?
Correct.
I guess I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with the signage on this, as Minnesota statute 169.346 states that a permanently placard sign is a requirement.
Say that again?
A permanently posted sign depicting the blue and white symbol. Let's see.
Councilmember Francis?
Go.
They are in compliance. They fixed it.
My question is I want to make sure the violations are accurate, not something added to that they were in compliance with.
No,
Okay.
they didn't have it when the violation was given. They didn't have the ADA or handicap parking sign. They fixed it. So they came into compliance. It's not an ongoing violation,
But the violation still counts.
but the violation still counts. It doesn't just go away and
Is
reset.
that Administrator Schillinger?
Thank you. And part of that site plan, and our ordinance requirements require the proper spacing. And if that isn't done, then it is not in compliance.
Okay.
Councilmember DeLuca?
I was at the table in 2024 when we had the lawsuit with Collision Corner. I sat in court when Collision Corner and Maple Plain agreed to a set of conditions to allow Collision Corner to operate the business the way they wanted to, including auto body work. Both parties entered into that agreement in good faith. Both parties agreed that we would do certain things. We would uphold pieces, they would uphold pieces. Both parties agreed that there was a three-step process for violations. That if 3 errors happened within a 2-year period, this council would have the ability to revoke the CUP. We entered into that agreement in court. We sat in court in front of a judge and said we would do this, and they said we would do this. And over the last 2 years, that has not happened. We've upheld our part of the bargain. We've allowed them to operate. We've pointed out errors when they've happened. We've been very patient with that. We've simply run to the end of the time. They have not done things. They have continued to have errors, and their inability to they agreed to pay all the costs for violations, for administration. That's what the escrow was accounting for. It became part of the agreement that went to court. It's disappointing that when we enter something in good faith that the other party doesn't, which leaves us, in my opinion, no alternative but to revoke the CUP. Therefore, Madam Mayor, I move that we revoke the CUP. You can do it.
There's a motion right now, so is there a second so I can open discussion?
Second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Francis. First was Councilmember Avizo, and the next is Administrator Schillinger.
Sorry. Question is, I forgot to ask my last time, will they be able to still sell cars if we revoke the IUP?
I can check on that and let you know here real quick.
While Administrator Schillinger is looking that up, I just want to, for the record, as well, state my disappointment. This is not something that is taken lightly or easily. I, as well, was with Councilmember DeLuca. This has been going on. Administrators prior, we spent numerous days in mediation with different mediators and different judges, and I really thought this was a mutual collaborative agreement, and it's unfortunate that it has come to this, and that we're non-compliant. There's been multiple violations, and we've not maintained the escrow at our residents' expense. So this is not an easy decision or something taken lightly. Councilmember Avizo, does that affect how you will vote tonight, or can staff get back to you with that answer?
Oh, it's not gonna, it's not gonna necessarily affect my vote, but go ahead.
Okay, Administrator Schillinger?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. One thing on the motion, I wanted to reiterate, it's IUP,
Sorry.
not the CUP.
Yeah, see.
And by revoking the IUP, Collision Corner retains all rights under Minnesota law related to or concerning lawful non-conforming use of the property. Those lawful non-conforming uses are indoor auto service and indoor automobile sales. Auto service means the inspection, diagnosis, maintenance, and service to the moving and non-moving parts of automobiles and includes services such as oil changes, tire rotation, alignment or replacement, and other preventative maintenance. Auto service also means whole body painting of a vehicle unrelated to damage to the vehicle. Auto service does not involve the actual repair of damage to any portion of an automobile or the repainting of a damaged vehicle. Upon expiration or revocation, the permit holder or transferee of this IUP may continue to perform indoor auto service and indoor automotive sales, is what was listed in the agreement.
So for clarification then, if I'm hearing you correctly, they can do auto sales, but it has to be indoor
That is correct.
if this passes.
That is correct.
Okay. Right. Any other questions or discussion? Councilmember Burek?
Mike, I agree with you on the good faith, and when we look at this resolution, the second violation was 30 days after we took that vote. That's 30 days to get two corrections. Is that good faith on our part, or is that just us following what we've set forth? Is my question, because trying to get a contractor in within 12 days is hard to do. So it just seems a little bit too much of, we tried to get 2 violations right off the bat.
Administrator Schillender?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I would remind the council that the conditions were supposed to have been met, I believe it was in January. January 16th, the applicant was supposed to submit a site plan and landscaping plan that complied with the agreement. They submitted that June 12th, so they had ample time to get things in order.
Right. Any other questions or discussion for staff? And I would like to note too, it looks like the first correspondence with the escrow was sent December 22nd, 2025, and we're now at June 22nd, 2026. Still not bringing that into compliance. So again, I think you've given opportunities, multiple opportunities for grace.
Just for further public record, since these new violations, have they made any good faith effort to contact you about any correction processes or anything? I believe you stated, but I just want to reiterate.
Yep, and I would remind the council that included in the packet is an email from Collision Corner
Yeah.
asking about the parking. Did not mention anything about making payment and bringing the escrow whole. And my response back to them was reminding them that, and I have not heard anything back.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second on the table then to approve Resolution 2026-0622-01, revoking the interim use permit, IUP, for 5060 US Highway 12. Does this need to be roll call? Or do you want it roll call? Okay. I'd prefer it to be roll call, please.
I guess yes.
Aye.
Mayor Montesquieu?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Greenaway.
Hey,
The ayes have it, 4-1. Next item of this business this evening is new business, and we'll begin with the 2025 audit presentation, and I'm not sure, who would you like to kick us off?
Troy.
Troy? Okay, welcome to the podium, Troy.
Well, thank you so much. So Siona and I are here to present your audit this evening. We're excited to do that in person. It's nice to kind of meet the folks that we serve throughout, auditing state and local governments. So my name, Troy, as you guys introduced. I'm the principal on the engagement, so I do a lot of the technical review and make sure all the different standards are applied correctly to the audit. And then Siona can introduce herself quick.
Hi, my name is Siona Kelly. I've been with CLA about 5 years, working exclusively with state and local governments. And I've been on the audit since last year. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, Siona, as well.
All right. Do I have the ability to, well, this works just fine. All right, thank you. So just going over the agenda, I'll go over some of the required communications to you all as a council. I'll deliver your audit results. Siona's gonna cover some of our financial results and highlights from the year, some different trends for your different opinion units and funds. And then I will touch base at the end on some of the upcoming governmental accounting standards that will be implemented in the next couple of years. All right, this first slide, we just talk about some of our required communications. So just a reminder for an audit, it is what we call reasonable, not absolute assurance. So we do test a lot. We do look at a lot of different things. We do analytics, but we don't test every dollar that rolls through the city. It wouldn't be economical to do so, and you potentially it wouldn't really find anything that'd be helpful for you as users of the financial statements. But we do a risk assessment, and everything is based on what we see in the industry, what you have going on as a city, and then we try to tailor our testing to that. Significant accounting estimates. The only significant estimate you guys have is really related to the net pension asset for the Fireleaf, and that's just because it's its own standalone plan. That won't be a significant estimate for you anymore. That does change quite a bit year to year, and that's just because it's one group of firefighters, and then you have an actuary calculating a liability off of that. We did implement GASB statement number 102 this year. It did not have a significant impact on the audit. It just required a little bit more questions around certain disclosures within your kind of the notes of the financial statements. And then we did get full cooperation from management. So in working kind of with Jacob and your accountants at Abdo, audit process went fairly smooth. They're very enjoyable to work with the last couple of years. Siona's got a little more experience than me because I had a health issue last year, but it's been an enjoyable experience for us. And then if you go to the next slide there, I'll go over our audit results. So we did issue what we call a unmodified or clean opinion. That's the best opinion you can get for an audit. It doesn't sound that great, but it is kind of like the best that you can do. And what that means is there wasn't any balance or class of transactions where we were looking for support or maybe evidence of what was going on, and weren't able to get to the bottom of what it should be. So everything was properly supported, and any questions we asked were able to get adequately answered during the process. For internal controls over financial reporting, we basically have, I might grab one of these, hold on. Just 'cause the one I was looking at is kind of going in and out. We have two items we're going to share as just kind of exceptions during the year. This first one is due to census data. So every other year, because the city records, records a material or a large pension asset, which of course you won't do going forward because the Fireleaf essentially won't exist as it does today or did. In the reports that we're presenting. And so we were able to find support for most of the birth dates, start dates, and some of the things that go into the actuarial calculation. But there were a couple individuals where we weren't able to find supporting documentation. We don't think any of it's an error, if that makes sense. And this is kind of common when you're dealing with Fireleafs in cities, because the Fireleaf oftentimes has some of the records, but they don't record the liability or asset. The city does. But then as your auditor, since it's on your books, we test that underlying data as part of your audit. So it'll remedy itself because the Fireleaf won't have a net pension asset that you have to book in the future. And then there was a restatement related to special assessments. So there's a bit of a unique situation at the end of 2024 where the city received a bunch of kind of special assessment payments or prepaid assessments. At that time of the year, those don't end up getting certified to the county. And so the reports that your accountants and us as auditors receive from the county don't include then some of those payments. And so as we were going through the audit this year, we worked with the city to basically find a couple of items that had been deposited in January and receipted into 25, but ideally would have been recorded in 2024. So when you go through the statements, if you see the prior period adjustment, it's just us moving the revenue into the proper year. And then Minnesota legal compliance, we didn't have any exceptions for that. I would say that's actually pretty rare for a city this size. Oftentimes we see 35-day compliance issues. Oftentimes there'll be kind of bid and quote items we run into. So I would say that that is a pretty big highlight. There are not many smaller municipalities that end up with no legal compliance findings because they have pretty extensive guides we have to go through every year. And there's just a few hundred laws they have us look at kind of as throughout the audit. So, and then I will let Siona take it from here with some of our financial trends and results.
All right, thank you, everyone. Go to the next slide.
This is going to be just great because I printed these for you all because I had a last minute change. So,
Oh, wow, nice.
yes.
We're on page 5. All right. So the first slide of graphs that I have for you all is the general fund unassigned fund balance. And on this graph, the dark blue bars on this graph represent the fund balance, and the blue line represents the fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. So the state auditor recommends having a general fund percentage of expenditures at about 35 to 50%. So the city is sitting around 36% this year, which is within those recommendations. However, the city actually has a policy for this percentage to be around 60% to just better meet the needs of the city. So we just recommend taking a look at that, kind of building up that fund balance, maybe something the council is already looking into for the future. We just recommend this because in the event of any unforeseen circumstance, unassigned fund balance in the general fund is really the best bucket of money that the city has to be able to account for that. So that being said, 36% of expenditures is actually about 4 months of operating revenue. Right, so this graph is the general fund revenue, and it shows total revenue and then a breakout by percentage of each type of revenue that the city has. And the main item I wanted to highlight tonight is intergovernmental revenues, which is going to be that yellow item. And the main change we see here is a bit of a decrease for the year, and that's really just due to ARPA money being spent all in 2024 and kind of that COVID funding wrapping up this year, last year. Other than intergovernmental revenues, the funding sources for this city have remained fairly consistent year over year. Next is the expenditures in the general fund. So overall, expenditures decreased about $47,000 for the year, mainly in general government and public safety a bit. Capital outlay increased about $135,000 for the year due to public work projects, equipment, machinery. And then as far as the breakout between expenditure types, the only changes really were capital outlay increased about 7% of the total, and then general government decreased about 4%, but other than that, all these expenditure categories really remain consistent year over year. The other item actually I did want to highlight on that expenditure graph is that a majority of the funding here is really going towards the public. So public safety, public works, and culture and recreation represent a very large portion of the general fund expenditures, which is always something we like to highlight. Next up are the special fund revenue fund balances. And in yellow here is 2025, and the largest portion of fund balance for these funds is going to be the committed funds, and the decrease is really attributed to the fire partnership. So there were more expenditures in that fund than the revenues for the year. The expenditures, mainly capital outlay, salaries, benefits, and then the revenues are charges for services from the fire partnership. Those decreased a little bit just due to the city of Medina and Three Rivers no longer being a part of that partnership in 2025. That being said, it will look a little bit different next year. Effective first of the year, the fire department was dissolved, outsourcing to West Suburban Fire District. So as far as the revenues and expenditures in this fund will look different next year. For the capital projects fund balances, in the assigned fund balances, the two funds that increased were the capital project and park improvement fund. The capital project fund balance increased mainly because last year there was a lot of capital outlay. Some of those projects were wrapped up this year. So the decrease in expenditures allowed for that increase in fund balance. And then the park improvement fund, that fund doesn't actually have any expenditures, and there was a large park dedication fee for the Quick Trip that opened up this year, which allowed for that increase in unassigned balance there. And then the decrease in unassigned fund balance showed a deficit this year, and that was because in the 2024 street reconstruction fund has a lot of capital outlay for street projects, and last year there was debt issued, so those bond proceeds offset all those capital outlay expenditures, while this year there was no bond proceeds to offset that, so the effect of those expenditures is shown as that deficit in unassigned fund balance for the year. This graph shows future debt service payments for the city. They will decrease over time as debt is paid off as it stands now. The two main types of long-term debt the city has in the governmental activities funds are general obligation special assessment bonds, and then in the enterprise funds, city has general obligation revenue bonds. This graph can be helpful for the city to look at in planning future cash flows and debt strategies. Next few graphs I have here will be related to the enterprise funds. Those are the water, sewer, and stormwater funds. So in blue here we have the water fund, and there was actually a operating loss last year, but this year we're showing operating income, which is good. So there was an increase in operating revenues while at the same time a decrease in operating expenses, which allowed for that increase in operating income. The sewer fund in purple reddish there had a bit of a decrease in operating income just because of operating revenues not increasing as rapidly as the operating expenses, but overall still showing income there. And then the stormwater fund in green did have an operating loss for the year. Revenues increased, but expenses increased quite a bit more. So I'll get into a little bit more about these funds in the next few slides. So this slide shows the operating income and loss, just taking depreciation out of the equation. The water fund without depreciation is about $245,000 more of an income. In the sewer fund is about $89,000 more income, and then one thing to note is the stormwater fund without depreciation actually does show an operating income. And what that really shows is that there's positive cash flow year over year, as depreciation is non-cash transaction. This slide shows the unrestricted net position, and there's really two main portions of net position in an enterprise fund. The unrestricted portion is the resources that the city is able to spend in these funds, and then the other portion is the net investment in capital assets. So while this unrestricted amount is decreasing, it's really just due to the increase of the net investment in capital assets due to the 2024 unspent bond proceeds. So while this portion is decreasing overall, in water and sewer, the net position is increasing, and stormwater fund net position did decrease due to that operating loss. In the water fund, operating revenues increased because of increase in rates. So there's about a 9 to 10% increase in water rates within the city and 17 to 18% outside of the city. That's bringing that operating revenue up, and then the operating expenses decreased a bit just due to less repair and maintenance for the year. So the combination of this is what allows for that operating income to increase and the income before depreciation to increase as well. In the sewer fund, there was about a 4% increase in rates, which is driving that revenue up. Operating expenditures increased a bit due to Metropolitan Council and other professional service fees increasing for 2025. Overall, there's an operating income, but just a bit of a decrease from last year in operating income and income before depreciation. Stormwater fund, there was about a 5% increase in rates, which drove revenue up a bit. Operating expenses increased quite a bit, partially due to ditch repairs for the year, so that larger increase in expenses compared to the operating revenues is what is causing that downward turn in the operating loss for the year. This slide shows cash and investment balances by fund citywide. Overall, there was an increase in cash and investments for the year, mainly in the enterprise funds because of those rate increases, and then in debt service funds, cash and investments increased because of tax and special assessment collections revenue. The other funds, the capital projects, fire partnership, general and special revenue funds, had a bit of a decrease in cash and investments due to some decreases in revenue, but again, overall, cash and investments did increase overall. And finally, we have a bit of an analysis on the budget to actuals in the general fund and then in the enterprise funds. In the general fund, expenses and revenues exceeded budget amounts. In the water fund, depreciation exceeded budget amounts, while expenses less depreciation and revenues were below budget. In the sewer fund, depreciation, expenses less depreciation, and revenues were all higher than budgeted. And then in the stormwater fund, depreciation equaled the budget, expenses less depreciation were over budget, and revenue was less than budgeted amounts.
All right, and then I'm just going to cover a couple of upcoming GASBs. I did want to highlight for your enterprise funds, you guys have, like if you look at the trend from 2023 to 2025, you can see it's a very healthy trend across all three funds, like even though the one has a dip from some of the ditch repairs. You know, and that's not always what you see when you're looking at enterprise funds, and that should be what you see. They should be generating some money. And so I would say that that is a positive trend, and you're not, you know, at risk of not being able to replace your assets or having to have massive, hopefully not massive jumps in rates. And so I think different communities handle that differently, but that's a highlight I saw. In terms of upcoming accounting standards that are changing, so statement 103 will probably be, it's for next year, it'll probably be the most significant for the city. It won't be a huge change, but it will change how your enterprise fund statements look. Some of the management discussion analysis, so like the first 15, 20 pages of your financial report. It'll just have a little bit different information, a little bit different narrative, and then your enterprise fund statements will essentially show subsidies. So you'll have transfers and intergovernmental revenue essentially in a different spot on the report, and they are also redefining what operating and non-operating revenues and expenses are. So all the same things will be presented. They'll just potentially be in different buckets. And then, of course, that under GASB 100, we try to recast that so it's comparable when you're looking at it year over year. And then statement 104, that really is just changing and requiring a specific breakout in your fixed asset footnote. The city already breaks their footnote out to the level required by this because it makes it a little bit easier to tie out to the financial statements themselves. And if you ever have a capital asset that you hold for sale, it may be that we have to have a disclosure within the financial statements once that's implemented. And then 2 years out, there's a change of subsequent events. That one will be pretty minor. It'll add a couple sentences if you happen to have a subsequent event, such as like with a fire partnership or something like that. So, or if you issue debt after year end before we issue the audit. Other than that, just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to serve the city of Maple Plain and open it up for any questions you might have on the financial results.
Excuse me. Any questions? Okay. Sounds good, thank you. So we need council to approve the audit tonight as presented. So looking for a motion to approve the audit as presented this evening.
I'll make, go ahead.
Moved by DeLucas, second by Francis.
Yes, that works.
Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion?
Mayor?
Yes.
Well, you mentioned when you were passing these out that there was a last-minute change.
Yep.
Did you articulate what the change was? Because the packet was in the public thing, so we just want to
There-
accentuate what's changed.
Yeah, there was, when I was printing the PowerPoint to when I was printing the PowerPoint that I provided the city, there was one of the dates that didn't line up with the columns. It was kind of overlapping some of like the colors that identified like what each bar represented. I didn't want that to be what we presented to you, and so I fixed that, sent that, and I also reordered our agenda because emerging issues was the fourth item we covered, not the third, because I thought it would flow better with Siona presenting along with me.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Right. Next item of business this evening is Resolution 2026-06, 2022-02, awarding the sale of General Obligation Improvement Bonds Series 2026A, and I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Hagan and Mr. Schillinger.
I think red means go, right, on this?
Correct.
Usually it's green, but thank you very much for having me, Madam Mayor. City Council members, Todd Hagan from Ellers and Associates, Public Finance Advisor, here to present the two bond issue sales, the 26A and 26B. We're going to walk through the A bond right now. It was a great day to sell bonds, but before I get into that, I do want to kind of talk about bond rating, right? Because we did get a bond rating on this one. We got an underlying rating, which is your bond rating, and also a state guaranteed rating because it's qualified as a utility type project. And those types of projects that are bonded for are allowed to get state credit enhancement or guarantee behind it, and the state's rating is a AAA. So we did have We have Jesse from Abdo, right, and Jacob on the phone as we walked through with the analysts at S&P a couple weeks ago. And oh, by the way, we did get your draft 25 audit in time for them to look at it too. Everything kind of came through at the last minute, so to speak, and so did the state credit enhancement application got signed sort of at the last minute because we had Friday was a holiday as well too, so we're kind of running up against all sorts of things, and just the way the state moves, by the way. We had a good rating call. They sent us all the questions and everything that we needed and gave them as much information as they could, and it was a really good conversation. I do want to say that your bond rating did go down one notch from a AA to a AA minus. So the analyst did say that it's just a repositioning to better reflect your local economy and your increasing debt load, right? So they look at, I don't know, 6 factors or so, and some of those are a little bit below your AA rated peers, right? Because they also see who's also rated AA. And I think we sold some bonds for Alexandria today for a new water tower, and I think they're like a AA, so you can kind of see, you know, they're AA, you were a AA, you're a AA minus now, and you can kind of just see comparison of the size of a city with that kind of rating. And then the good news is, though, is that there's no further downward pressure. Okay, it sounds like you're going to stay here for a while, which is fine. And we also did let them know what's coming on the horizon and things like that as well. So we do let them know what your future plans are too. The reason for that, the lowering of that rating, to the analyst said, is your debt levels are increasing to a point where, like I said, you're becoming they're falling below those of your AA rated peers. And then additional factors are such as the limited geographic area, declining population, and minimal growth in the tax base also sort of weighted on. We're weighing on that rating too. So, you know, we also looked at they talk about your reserve levels, right? And you've got, you know, out of a score of 1 to 6, 1 being the best, your reserves are a 1, right? So, I mean, you know, some of these things other things are a little out of your control. If you look at the rating report, which is attached to this sale day report and the other sale day report, just kind of looking at some of those metrics there. Basically, you know, economy is what they look at, financial performance, basically how you operate throughout the year, right? Are there any budget amendments that are needed and things like that? And at the end of the year, where do you kind of land? Was it sort of where you thought you were going to land? That's called financial performance. I said the reserves were it's top of the, as good as you can get in management, was at like a 2.65 out of 6, so that's pretty good too. So debt and liabilities are 3.75 out of 6, so that's hard to control that, as well as the economy too. So I think you're fine. It really didn't. I was talking to Mike before the meeting a little bit, and it didn't affect. We didn't think it affected the amount of bids that you got today, and we'll go through those, nor the interest rate that you got as well. So that's the rating, so today on the A bond, we did have we had 5 bidders set up, and we got 6. So if you look at your sale day report that I have, you probably have in your computers. So Northland Securities was the best bid at 3.7%, and that's a little higher than 0.5%, a little bit lower than 0.5% than what our prediction was or our estimate was. That came in real well. It was, I think, a 0.53% or so less than our projection. And that does translate into the interest rate that the folks that are paying the assessments also pay, because that is a factor of the bond rate, and it's like 1.5% over that bond rate. So they also, the lowering of that bond rating helps their interest rate as well. Baird out of Milwaukee was the second bid at 3.72. TD Financial Products out of New York at 3.79. That's who we picked up as the 6th bidder out of the 5 that were set up, so they came to play. BOK Financial out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin was 3.8, Stifel Nicholas out of Birmingham, Alabama, 3.86%, and Raymond James out of St. Petersburg, Florida at 3.86. So we competitively bid this, right? And so, the difference between, I guess, the low bid and the high bid is like almost $60,000. So it pays to throw this out and get some bids. And we're happy that Northland came to play on this as well as a bidder. So that's great. I think they sharpened their pencil and they went to town on this, which is great. We appreciate that. And it went through the rating, right, and all that. And then we did receive, if you look at your tabulation, second page in, from Northland Securities, this is very common to have a premium bid. So we received a premium bid from them, which means we got cash from their customers today, which is fine, but that's more money than we needed. So we talked to Kevin and just sort of, I gave them the recommendation, I guess, if our project costs are fine and that should pay for the project. This is really just a bidding parameter, basically. And we were able then to lower the bond issue down by $285,000. So instead of 4.84 million, we're at 4.55 million. And by doing that, we basically take that interest rate of the 5s and the 4s. That brings it down to that yield, more kind of where the market is, 2.6, to 3.9. That's what happens there when we sort of lower that bond issue down by cash from their customers. The reason why they do that, I think the logic to that is, I think the market out there is still thinking that rates may go up, and this way they get a higher interest rate stamped on their bond issue. In turn, they give Northland Securities cash to be able to hold that higher interest rate. And kind of the best thing we can do is lower the bond down, right? And so that's what we did. So we kind of burn the yield down, basically, is what we're doing here. And that's quite common. I hardly ever see anybody keep that premium unless the project costs are somehow going out of budget. But I think we're okay here. I hope so, because this is it. Anyway, so I also attached is the final numbers on the bond issue as well. So it's principal and interest minus special assessments, and then it would be a tax levy, but we are offsetting it, right, internally, if you so choose, by water revenues, sanitary sewer revenues, and storm sewer revenues. So if there's not enough there, and that's what you want to do to lower that tax levy down, and you need to increase some of those other revenues, you can certainly do that if that's what you're looking to do. So lots of flexibility here on the payback as well. So it's not really written in stone, so you have some flexibility there. The council action, there's a resolution in front of you folks to consider approval of the bond issue to Northland Securities, and I think I hit all the highlights. So I will yield for any questions from the council, if you have any for me.
Any questions for Mr. Hagan?
I'll tell you who else was selling bonds today. It's kind of interesting. Alexandria at 7 million, Dilworth, suburb of Moorhead, 11 million, St. Paul School District, 40 million today, and Staples Motley School District at 14 million. So we're all in this together, and I think you guys, you were bidding at 11 o'clock, so I think you were kind of one of the last ones to bid today. So I think that helped a little bit too. They got a feel for the market, where it was going, and so I think that's why we got some pretty aggressive bids here for you folks. My thought.
All right. Looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2026-0622-02, awarding the sale of General Obligation Improvement Bond Series 2026A.
So moved.
Moved by DeLuca,
Second.
second by Francis. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item of business this evening is another motion regarding bonds again, and I will turn this over to Mr. Hagan and Mr. Schillender.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. The B bonds are not credit enhanced. They are, they sold with your AA minus stable outlook bond rating because they are not utility related. And we received 3 bids on that. We had 2 set up, and TD Financial, again, came in and gave us the 3rd bid today. And that, again, came in about 52 basis points, or 0.52% less than our estimate. So that's good news. These are basically going to be paid from tax levy, so it's obviously part of the same project, but they qualified a little bit different as far as for the state guarantee. So we set these off to the side and have these bid separately. And so Northland Securities came at 3.77, almost the same as the other one, but a little higher, just a little bit higher. And then the second bid was from Baird out of Milwaukee at 3.87%, and TD Financial out of New York, 3.94%. Again, all of them were under our estimate, and it sold with the same underlying bond rating and all of that. Did get some of that premium from Northland, again, with a reduction in some of the cost of issuance and the fee that they took as well. So kind of a mixture of everything. We're able to lower this bond issue down by $55,000. So instead of $1,275,000, it came down to $1,220,000. And final numbers are attached as well on this one. So you can levy this year and collect next year and be able to make your bond payments on time. That's all I got on this one, since it's kind of the same, pretty much the same story on this. So I'll yield to you folks for any questions you might have for me on this bond issue.
Looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2026-0622-03, awarding the sale of general obligation street reconstruction and tax abatement bonds, Series 2026B.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Burek,
Second.
second by DeLuca. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next item of business this evening is another resolution, and I'm going to turn this over to our city planner, Mr. Cultus, to talk about.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. I've got one item for you tonight coming before you after being considered by the Planning Commission at their last Planning Commission meeting. It's a request for site plan review and a conditional use permit to allow a cannabis retail business with a full retail endorsement to operate within the existing building located at 5600 Pioneer Creek Drive. The applicant, Justin Sauer with Zomer Farms LLC, has requested that the city consider both site plan review and a conditional use permit for the full retail cannabis license. The property is located at 5600 Pioneer Creek Drive. It's zoned by the city as industrial. It's guided by the comprehensive plan as industrial. It's approximately 11 acres in overall size. Within the I industrial zoning district, cannabis businesses, including a business with a full retail endorsement, are considered a conditional use. So we have criteria specifically related to cannabis businesses. They must be licensed by the state. A business with a cannabis business retail endorsement must be registered under city ordinance, must meet the cannabis business buffer, and must not exceed the cannabis business retail limit. In this particular case, the applicant had recently come before the city and obtained a conditional use permit to allow cannabis cultivation manufacturing on or within the lease space of this same property. This property is about 40,000 square feet in overall size, and the applicant is currently leasing 20,000 square feet, or the east half of that, for cultivation and manufacturing. They've this new request would add a retail component to this existing lease space. And so with that, we look at it as a totally different conditional use permit than the one that they had, and we're considering this as a standalone conditional use permit related to the retail operations. So the Planning Commission reviewed this request. They held a public hearing at their June 4th meeting, as I noted. And we discussed a couple of different things related to the proposed use of the building and the site, more specifically related to the retail component. We talked about traffic flow and traffic volume generated by cannabis retail operations, including delivery vehicle activity and potential customer traffic associated with the curbside pickup and walk-in. One of the things that was noted in the application related to this request is that the applicant is seeking to do delivery and then also curbside pickup. And so with the delivery and curbside pickup, that would be the primary focus of what they're trying to do, with the retail component being a physical retail component coming maybe at a future time, but as a part of this application. So with that, we had more discussion at the Planning Commission level related to that. We looked at the parking and we broke down the analysis of what would be done if they were to add retail, a couple thousand square feet of retail. And looking at the retail spaces along with the existing cultivation manufacturing, we still believe that this entity would have adequate parking, meaning that they'd have more parking than what would be required under our ordinance. We considered approximately 55 parking spaces available for this portion of the building, and we identified in a full kind of retail build out that they'd have the need for up to almost 51 parking spaces, but they still would have adequate parking on site based on what's available. So with that, the Planning Commission did also discuss, are there other alternative locations in the city where full endorsed cannabis retail could be located? We kind of went back through and talked about the I Industrial District being the preferred district for the city to locate cannabis retail. We went through that. We had identified the buffer zones, looked at the city map, and noted that there are very few places within the city where cannabis retail actually can be accommodated. And so with that, we did take public comment. At that public hearing, we did have several business owners who expressed concerns related to the use of cannabis retail in that industrial zone. And then we had a little bit of a discussion on hours of operation, just noting that the applicant is going to have to comply with the state's hours of operations related to cannabis retail. And the applicant actually acknowledged that, noted they intend to comply with all applicable standards. With all of that, the Planning Commission kind of talked through the proposed use for retail, ultimately making a recommendation to the City Council to approve the application as submitted with the noted changes, and then with the conditions and findings included in the staff report as well as the attached resolution. A couple of things that I'll note is that we did ask the applicant to provide the city with a parking management plan and also a dedicated number of customer pickup spaces in front of the building, and we would work with the applicant to obtain that and kind of just make sure that they have a plan for where parking will be located on site. Outside of that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, go into any or as much detail as requested. Thanks.
Thank you for that summary. Any questions for Mr. Cultus? Councilmember Burek.
I just want to be clear, the curbside pickup and delivery part of that, is that for the recreational side or is that for the medical side?
So the way we looked at it, we've talked to the state. Our understanding is that it is only for the medical side now. That could be changing with future changes to the way that the laws are set up. But right now, our understanding is that's the pickup and delivery is for medical, not recreational adult use cannabis.
Thank you.
Other questions or discussion? Thank you to the planning committee for your work on this. I know I watched the meeting, or the video, it was a long meeting, so, thank you. Any other questions, discussion? All right, with that then, I'm looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2026-0622-04, a resolution approving a site plan review, conditional use permit to allow a cannabis retail business with a full retail endorsement at 5600 Pioneer Creek Drive.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Burek,
I'll second.
second by Reviso. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item of business this evening before us is the Seal Coat Award, and I'm going to turn that over to our Assistant City Engineer, Mr. Bauman.
Thank you, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Last Monday, we held the seal coat, or received quotes back for the 2026 seal coating project. You could see the map in the packet. Generally consists of the 2024 reconstruction streets and then some that were done roughly 10 years ago. So Main Street West and Gateway Boulevard, a few around the area like that. And you notice there's a green spot on the map. So we had received a request to consider partnering with the property that owned the parking lot off of Gateway there, and that's listed in the quotes as an alternate. We shared the details with them. They would cover that cost in full, and they declined to move forward with that in this project anyway. So we're recommending award to Pearson Brothers the low for the base bid amount only. With that, I'll stand for any other questions.
Any questions? Looking for a motion to approve the 2026 Seal Coat Award to Pearson Brothers Incorporated
So moved.
for the base bid. Moved by DeLuca,
Second.
second by Francis. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item of business before us is another ordinance. This one is amending City Code, Chapter 6, Article 2, the Nuisance Code Enforcement, and I will turn this over to Assistant City Administrator Larson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Honorable Council. Before the council are proposed amendments to Chapter 6, Article 2 nuisance and violations. The proposed amendments are intended to further define nuisance enforcement procedures, timelines, and administrative responsibilities. There are 3 key points for consideration with this ordinance. First, the ordinance updates and expands key definitions related to noxious weeds. Secondly, the ordinance establishes clear enforcement procedures and administrative responsibilities. Finally, the ordinance creates a more defined abatement and recovery cost framework. Staff recommends approving the ordinance amending Code to City Code, Chapter 6, Article 2, Nuisance Code Enforcement.
Questions for staff? Right, hearing none, we will begin with the first motion. Looking for a motion to approve ordinance 2026-343, amending City Code, Chapter 6, Article 2, Nuisance Code Enforcement.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Reviso,
Second?
second by DeLuca. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, 5-0. Next motion is a motion to approve ordinance 343, amending Chapter 6, Article 2, the nuisance violation summary publication.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Burek,
I will second it.
second by DeLuca. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item of business this evening before us is the ordinance 2026-353, amending Maple Plains City Code, Section 8-64 regarding parking restrictions. And I will turn that over to Administrator Schillender.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This ordinance is basically just adding that the Public Works area would require a permit to park. We've had construction vehicles and things that stage there. We've put up the sign that there was no parking without a permit. They can get a permit from the city hall, but in order to do so, we actually need to have that in ordinance to enforce that. And that is what this is doing.
Thank you for that. Any questions for staff regarding that? All right. With that then, looking for a motion to approve ordinance 2026-053, amending Maple Plains City Code, Section 8-64 regarding parking restrictions.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Burek,
Second.
second by Francis. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item of business this evening is council reports, and who would like to kick us off?
I will.
Councilmember Francis.
Find my notes. Let's see. So for the month of June, feels like we're not at the end of the month yet. There's almost another week to go. I attended fire relief, which that is coming to an end. Firefighters are very happy with what happened at the legislature, and thank everyone that went down there to testify and working with Kristen Robbins and Warren Limmer and them supporting us. It's good for our fire department to see that the city's supporting them. Let's see, I had council chat at the beginning of the month. We started off with a little issue of not knowing where it was being held. We got that resolved. I had one resident that came and had issues with their water. We sent a note to Public Works, and they did the research and talked with the resident and the business owner. And because of all of our construction going on, things are getting stirred up in the pipes. So you may on occasion have discolored water. If you think it's too much discoloring, I guess call City Hall and Jacob or Kevin will direct you to the right place to get it resolved or to find out what's going on. Attended Planning Commission, and our planning commissioners worked really hard with the discussion of the cannabis. I'm going to say it. State law restricts what we can do. And the planning commission really wrestled with it, and their hearts went out to the business owners. But they asked a lot of good questions to get clarification, to really understand what the business wants to do when it comes to retail. It was a long meeting, but it was a worthwhile meeting. Attended some workshops, we had a special meeting, and now the business meeting, and I think I'm done with meetings for the month.
Thank you for that update. Councilmember Burek?
June has been a very short month with our meeting schedule, but that special meeting is, I'm gonna hit back on it, even though Connie brought it up. It was glad to see our fire department do what they felt was the best for their department. We were able to get legislation change and get things back funded to the relief, and that's where that meeting, special meeting was, to accept that vote. And it's nice to see we are moving forward and putting this behind us to move forward with our city. And I know you're going to allude to the League of Minnesota Cities Conference. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make it this year, which is kind of a downfall. It's a organization and a retreat that I really enjoy going to, so I'm going to miss it this year. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Bjork. Councilmember Wiesel.
Yes, oh, I think, is it on? Yeah, okay. My apologies, okay. So, I'd like to just report, I just attended the watershed committee meeting, and just to, give you a prize, so the road construction portion of downtown with the, downtown roads, blanking on the names, was approved through the watershed, so that we can go further with that road construction, but you probably already knew that. But as far as that, also some newer things, we are now doing a cost share policy. Now it's going to cover up to 75% of shoreline restoration expenses. So for like qualified homeowners, so that helps shore up your shorelines. We are also working with the county on doing a prairie conversion, possibly, and we're also doing some more wetland restoration projects. And we're working on a new invasive species grant. Also, we are going to be helping provide some funds for the water festival coming up, which I believe is soon. I don't remember the date, sorry, apologies. We're doing this to help, keep our water quality improvement, to help support our recreational natural beauty of our community. So that's all I have to report on, and I'm also looking forward to the conference in Rochester this year. So that is all I have.
Councilmember DeLuca.
I'd like to use my time tonight to talk a little bit about the fire relief. Not every firefighter was necessarily in agreement over what to proceed, how to proceed with that. I think what was encouraging was the way that they were able to work through that collectively, come up with an answer that worked for the majority of the firefighters. When you're talking money and you're talking dollars, those get to be very heated discussions sometimes. There's still a lot of work that has to be done on that. That effort is not done yet, and I know Jacob and the staff will be spending time figuring out how we're getting that money back, how it's going to go into the fund, how it's going to be distributed, the pieces that make sure all the expenses are covered, the new things that have to be covered this year, and then hopefully by the end of the calendar year, close it down. We don't want to cross that magic January 1 number if we can help it. But I appreciate McCoy's leadership in this effort, and Jacob, your work with the mayor on the work down at the legislature. Very well done.
Thank you, Councilmember DeLuca. As well, in June with Councilmember DeLuca, we also had a personnel committee meeting and looked at some of those things. I was able to attend the Minnesota Small Cities 2026 post-session recap and lunch and learn. At our West Hennepin Chamber of Commerce, we also heard from Senator Limmer and Representative Robbins' legislative update, sensing a theme here. So that's been busy. We had a Highway 12 Safety Coalition meeting, executive committee meeting, Police Commission executive committee meeting, just talking about future planning and budget discussions and sustainability. Rotary, we had a speaker from Letters of Love, and Evelyn came and shared about her gold project through the Girl Scouts and mental health with sports. Northwest Hennepin League, again, we had a legislative update. It was really unique. We had Ann Finn from the League of Minnesota Cities, Patricia Nauman with Metro Cities, and Cap from Minnesota Association of Small Cities all come out to Loretto and speak to 14 mayors. And again, just the example of groups and organizations working together really with different missions, but all the same vision, and just great examples for all of us as well. The Minnesota Mayors Association, we had a meeting. We're planning for our annual meeting and also our fall meetup. Looking forward to attending the League of Minnesota Cities annual meeting and conference in Rochester this week, and really just wanted to focus on our Highway 12 Safety Coalition meeting. We had a meeting in June, and it was really just a time to reflect and celebrate the 12-year anniversary of that group. And again, that is just another example of groups working together, the whole corridor, state agencies, local municipalities, different branches of law enforcement, legislation. And the only way we're going to continue to see progress in there is if we continue to work together. It was alluded to tonight with the partnership between Delno and Independence leading the way, and Maple Plain with the lobbying efforts. We were able to secure $4 million. So we're grateful for that, but we're not done. We still have a lot of funding to secure to get the work done that we need to get done. And it's great that we're not seeing the accidents and the fatalities, but we're not in the media's eyes. So please continue to advocate whenever you can to talk about it. We need to continue to work together to get more funding to finish that road. So that's my little soapbox, so I apologize for that. A little passionate about that. And Chief alluded to tonight, really excited about Cops and Bobbers in July. I think that's like the only official event that I'm aware of in July, so looking forward to that. I know Haven Homes will continue to have some luncheons. They invited us to their luau. It's always great just to go and visit with residents and be in their homes and meet with them. August 2nd will be the Polo Classic, always a fun event, great time to interact and mingle. Night to night, looking forward to that. Sign up to host, please, and I know the Chief already hit on that. And then also on August 17th will be the 5th annual McGarry's Charity Golf Event, and all funds raised will go to our local first responders, both at West Suburban and West Hennepin Public Safety. So if you're not a golfer, you can sign up to be a whole sponsor or donate something to the raffle. If you are a golfer, you can play yourself or get a foursome, or you can do all the above. So reach out. We'd love to have you be part of that event in any way, shape, or form. So have a safe and happy 4th of July, and until we meet again, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Francis,
I'll second that motion.
second by Burek. The meeting's adjourned at 8:31.